Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Tactics and Strategies to Become a Rockstar Recruiter with MAPS Coach Rich Rector. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That's FASTTRACK@kw.com. That's all for me, Rich. Take it away.
All right. Thank you for being here, guys. Appreciate it. Happy Monday. I'm sure I know many of you have the opportunity to work with a lot of you. My name is Rich Rector, MAPS Leadership Coach. Been a MAPS Leadership Coach for, about 15 years now. And I've had the privilege of working with over 1,000 KW leaders in that time through my Rockstar Recruiting Program and one-on-one coaching. So thank you for being here today. We're going to talk about tactics, strategies, some key tips, to be a rockstar recruiter as we move through the first quarter here in 2021. So with that, I wanted to start with a couple quick questions and thoughts. The first one is that, guys and gals, all great recruiters have a system, right? They have a system. So you need to ask yourself, what's your system? Do you have a system? So do you have a recruiting system? And we're going to touch on that today. And if so, let's dive into that and figure out what are some of the things that maybe you want to add to your system. What are some of the opportunities to enhance your system? So one of the things too that I like to always mention is, why is it that some team leaders are great recruiters and some are just average? You ever wonder that? Especially as we get ready to go to family reunion here in a couple of weeks, you're going to see panels of some of these team leaders that we all know that recruit 25, 30 people a month. So what's the difference between somebody like that and somebody that's recruiting 3 a month? It's the mastery of their system, right? And the different components of the system that we're going to touch on in a second, and how they've mastered that. It's just like with an agent. What's the difference between a mega agent and somebody else in that same market? It's how they've mastered the models and the systems to build a mega agent business, right? And how they've scaled that. The same holds true for us as recruiters. It's how you mastered the key components of the system and what kind of scalability or leverage have you created around those that allow you to do big numbers. It's pretty much as simple as that. So what is the system? What is the system we need to master? Well, the system that I've laid out here is 10 key components. And the first one is really having a level of mastery around your plan, having a specific and strategic and predictable recruiting plan. So as we've started the year, just got the first month under our belt here, right? February 1st today. Do you have a 2021 recruiting plan, right? Not a 1-3-5 that talks about other things, productivity, retention, profitability, but specifically, do you have a recruiting plan? Because recruiting is a business, right? And in our role, right, since we're talking about recruiting and most of your team leaders on the line, it's the most important part of your role is growth, because it's the fastest way to create profitability is to bring in transactions, right? So do you have a predictable strategic recruiting plan? Number 2, I wrote down, do you have specific target lists? And do you know what specific recruiting strategies you're going to use for this predictable system that are most effective, right? Sure, we have broker metrics. I'm not talking about do you have access to data. I'm saying, do you have specific lists that you're targeting, right? Like your co-brokes as an example, people that you've done deals with last year, people that you've done deals with, year to date here in the month of January. Because if you have those specific lists, now you know what and how to target them. Example, let's say the co-broke list we were just talking about. Do you realize, because a lot of you might not know this is something that's hot off the press in the last 60 days, at least I found out about it in the last 60 days, is that your broker metrics, for those of you that subscribe to Terra Datum and Broker Metrics, you can download their app for free under Terra Datum, and it'll give you real-time co-broke information of transactions in your office with the contact data that we all struggle getting, right? With the property address, when it's sold, how much. It'll even give you the trajectory of the other agent's business that you're contacting. So that would be a strategic on how you could get that list, or you have that specific target group. And then the question is what are we doing with that? Well, like for example, right now with Family Reunion in 2 weeks, you could call and just say, hey, this is Rich, team leader, business strategist here, at Keller Williams. I wanted to personally call and thank you for the transaction you had on ABC Street with Bob. And as a special thank you, I wanted to personally invite you to the biggest real estate event of the year that's happening in 2 weeks, right? So you could call a co-broke and as a special thank you, invite them to an event, in this case, Family Reunion. So that would be an example of being strategic by having a target list with a specific strategy on how to maximize that. Number 3, mastering the leadership playbook. Okay, master the leadership playbook. So all great recruiters, right? It's their level of mastery around this. Do you know how to do a tech audit, right? Do you know the 30-30-40 conversation, right? Are you mastering the leadership playbook that we have? What are you doing with the different models that we've all been talking about? The dependent, the concierge model, right? Interdependent, independent model, right? What are we doing with indies, with mega agent offices? We've had a lot of conversation around those, that dialogue around those conversations, right? So have you mastered the leadership playbook? Number 4, can you set appointments, right? Have you mastered the ability to set appointments? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in your level of mastery around what we've talked about so far? Having a plan, being very specific and strategic on who you're targeting and what your strategy is to go after them, mastering the leadership playbook and understanding the different components of that, and then mastering setting appointments. Right? Look at your trend report. We're getting ready to transmit this week. Look at your trend report and your numbers for January. Are you getting enough appointments? Because recruiting is a contact sport, right? And if we're not getting enough at bats, we're not going to get enough hits. So are you getting enough appointments? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in that area? That doesn't mean that you can't have leverage, right, to help you with those appointments, right? Having your productivity coach, maybe you have an assistant team leader, maybe you have an MCA that's making some co-broke calls, maybe you have a cyber recruiter or virtual assistant helping you, whatever that is, but are you mastering getting enough at bats? Number 5, are you mastering the needs analysis, and have you mastered the recruiting presentation? Right? When you get that at bat, when you get that appointment on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself in your ability to set people up in the needs analysis so that they're ready to be presented to? And then how would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in your recruiting presentation? So you're not selling KW, right? But you're actually getting them to sell themselves on the value that we have at KW and our tools and systems and models to help them get to where they want to go. And that's really an art form. It's not just, how well do I know my value propositions and can I, explain them. It's about really bringing them through a conversation in the needs analysis of self-discovery, that they don't have the solutions to where they want to go and reaching their potential in their career. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Number 6, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself and your ability in the closing process and handling objections? Look at your pipeline. Look at your pipeline of experienced agents. And ask yourself, what is your closing ratio? Right? When you have an appointment within a market share agent, what percentage of the time are you going to be able to close them? Do you need to meet with 4 people, 25%? Do you need to meet with 8? Do you need to meet with 10 to get a hire? How would you rate yourself, scale of 1 to 10, on your ability to close and handle objections? Number 7, how would you rate yourself and your ability, right, to get the work done, right? Schedule management, time management side of this, being accountable, right, to the numbers to fuel the engine, to make sure you're getting enough at bats, to make sure that you have a good needs analysis, recruiting presentation, closing, handling objection, right, ratio, so that you can have a predictable outcome. See, what makes, again, recruiters great and some just okay is their level of mastery around these key components. And then number 8 is an important one, lead follow-up. You have to have a great lead follow-up system. Did you know that 70% of your hires will join you during the lead follow-up phase? 70. So 70% of the people are going to join me during lead follow-up. Do I have a system around it? Do I know what to say, what to send, how often? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself there? And then number 9, the agent transition. The minute that they say yes, that's when the real work starts, right? Are you coaching them through their exit interview with their broker? Are you preparing them for the red carpet treatment? Or are you just sending them in there, right, blind? Oh, I'm going to go talk to my broker. I'll be here next week. Okay, great. Right? Or are we coaching them and walking them through and simulating that experience so they're not blindsided when that broker, right, rolls out the red carpet, applies the guilt trip, give me another chance, all those kind of things. So how would you rate yourself and your ability to prep your recruits before you send them back into the lion's den, if you will? And how good is your orientation system? What kind of experience do they have? Wow experience do they have when they join? Because the last thing you want to have happen is somebody not to have a good experience and potentially leave and go back to the company they came from because we messed up the orientation. So we have to make sure they have a wow experience. Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself there? And then lastly, leveraging those hires for additional hires. I have a 12-point plan around how to leverage your hires, meaning turning one hire, one market share hire, into multiple hires. How would you rate yourself and your ability to do that? Right? Leveraging their influence. Do you have a system? Do you have a plan around that? Because again, 1 through 10, what's the difference between somebody recruiting 25 and 30 people a month and others? Is their level of mastery around those 10 key components of the recruiting system. Okay. What are your best recruiting sources, strategies? What are they? Right? What are you using? What would you say right now are your best strategies? Especially in the year that we just came out of, and now we're right starting a new year, and we're still, in the pandemic situation. So, what's been effective? right? I like to call it the accumulation effect. So again, back to level of mastery. So clients, or I should say, because I have some great clients that are at some of these levels, and what makes them different to be able to hire 25 people in a month is what's called the accumulation effect. The accumulation effect is having multiple strategies working simultaneously to get you massive results. Multiple recruiting strategies working simultaneously to get you massive results. So it's not just one thing, right? It's co-brokes, it's events, it's getting referrals from our agents, right? It's a combination of things. It's your recruiting marketing. What are you sending out? What's social media? Are you texting? Are you using video? All of those things working simultaneously creates the accumulation effect. Let's touch on some of these sources. So scale of 1 to 10. Ask yourself this, rate yourself here as well. Phone calling, right? Whether it's warm or cold, right? That's a recruiting source. We have to talk to people. And because of the pandemic situation, we're not in a there's not the opportunity to go out and see people like there was before, right? Open houses, board events, mixers, social functions. We don't have a lot of that going on right now for obvious reasons. So we're going to have to use the phone. Number 2, agent referrals. Right? Are you getting enough agent referrals? Well, there's never enough. Okay, sure. But you need to ask yourself, are you getting them regularly? Are you asking for them? Your agents want to refer people to you. See, these are some of the different things that we need to look in the mirror and ask ourselves if we really want to capitalize on these sources and really take them to the next level. If phone calling isn't effective for you, what are you going to do about it this year? Right? You got to have a growth plan, right? You're the only asset in your business yourself. So if you need help in those areas, you need to figure out how you're going to get help. Again, it could be getting your skills refined with the Rockstar Recruiting Program that starts in a month, where we do weekly webcam live prospecting, where I work with you on the phones. It could be getting somebody that's good at that, right? Having somebody else make the phone calls for you. Okay, recruiting events, educational and social. So we have the biggest event of the year happening in 2 weeks, family reunion. How are you doing getting recruits, guests registered? Guys, this is going to be the largest real estate event of 2021 in our entire industry. Bigger than NAR. There's going to be 60,000 people there that are going to participate. And we all know the things that we're going to be talking about are going to be the state of the market, the state of the industry, what's happening with all these Zillow and all these different, competitors, entering our market, and this the space of data and lack of inventory and all those kind of things. So it's going to be the event of the industry, much less the largest. And we have an opportunity to get people plugged in. Co-broke transactions, we talked about that. Back before the pandemic, getting out and seeing the people was a big deal. Leveraging the hires, turning one hire into 3. That we talked about on the last slide. If you bring in a capper, are you able to get 2 to 3 other agents, recruits from that hire in a 120-day period? You can if you have a system around that. Social media, what are you doing with social media? Do you have a newsletter that goes out? Are you posting every day? Are you using video, which is so much more powerful than email, right? What are you doing? Are you leveraging, command? Are you leveraging, websites? What is it that you're doing in terms of marketing and telling your story? right? Smart plans. There's a family reunion smart plan that that I put in there a couple weeks ago. So hopefully you've been using some smart plans, to get people invited. But what are you sending out? What does your marketing look like? Are you sending out local things, hire announcements? We had 5, we had 10, we had 8 people join this month. Welcome to the team. Are you sending that out every single month with their pictures? Are you sending out a great agent testimonial of here's who's winning, right? So-and-so just took 4 listings. So-and-so just had a $60,000 GCI month, right? Are you using testimonials and tying those successes to our value propositions and benefits? Okay. Look at new agents as well, right? The new agent system. State list. A lot of you are in states where you can get a state licensee list of all the people that have passed their test. Right? Are you doing career nights, virtual career seminars? Right? Do you have a licensing school? Are you able to leverage a local licensing school? And then, number 10, what kind of leverage do you have? So again, taking it to the next level, what kind of leverage can you set up? Right? Do you have any help from whoever's on your staff, on your team, that you can get them to do a little bit in the area of recruiting, which adds up to a lot, depending on how many people you have? And do you need to consider hiring a virtual assistant? I mean, there's no secret there. There's over 200 right now virtual assistants that are working in market centers in recruiting. I don't know if you knew that. So a lot. So maybe that's an option for you if you're struggling in one of these other areas, like getting appointments. How good do you do at leveraging your hires? We talked about that. And how good do you do as well as the initiatives, like indies, mega agent offices, right? How well do you push, right, and tell our story around the referral network? Do you use Keller Mortgage? So these are the recruiting sources, right, that give agents a competitive edge, right? And these recruiting sources right here is what gives you the competitive edge if you can master these. So a couple other things I want to share with you as we shift gears here. So let's talk about experienced agents for a minute. See, the mindset, understanding the mindset of an experienced agent, market share agent, R2, is really important. Because when we understand where they're coming from and their mindset, it'll help us adjust and adapt to what we're saying when we're having conversations with them, when we're attempting to get an appointment, when they're in front of us. So number 1, I wrote down agents fear change. Agents fear change. Meaning they don't want to move, right? They're happy where they're at, right? If the mass majority of them are, if they were unhappy, they would leave. If they wanted to move, they would move. So in large part, we need to understand that when I call them up, because they fear change, they're happy where they're at, they don't want to move. That's what they say to us. They're not rejecting us. That's the truth. That's okay. They're creatures of habit, right? We're all creatures of habit, and they're secure and safe in their environment. That's their mindset. They believe they're at the best company, otherwise they wouldn't be there because they're an independent contractor. We can't get frustrated with that. That's their mindset, and when we understand that mindset, it'll help us break down those walls in our communication approach. Their hot buttons are time and money. We all want to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time. A great question to ask at the needs analysis is, hey, what I find with great agents like yourself, it's generally about 2 things: time or money. More time or more money. Which is it for you? Because we know that that's what it's about: time and money. Agents are self-interested, meaning they're interested in themselves, right? They're interested in time, more time and money, making the most amount of money in the least amount of time so I can enjoy, the quality of life that I want to have and fund my lifestyle, right? They're independent contractors. Curiosity comes from third-party success, meaning testimonials. When you can share testimonials and people winning, it creates that perception that I can win too. So think about what kind of testimonial success stories that you can start accumulating in a library so that you can use those in your conversation, so you can use that in your marketing, because they never get old, right? So we need to use testimonials to give validity to our benefits. And curiosity must be created in less than 10 seconds. When you're on the phone setting up appointments, we have less than 10 seconds to create curiosity. So you need to really master whatever scripts you're using so that you can get off the phone quickly and wow them enough that they want to have a conversation with you. They want to meet with you, right? If you can't do that, time's not your friend in recruiting, then that turns into a 10 or 15-minute phone call. You've basically just blown a lot of your prospecting time, right, on one call. So you want to get off the call quickly. You want to wow them in the first 10 seconds so they want more information. You don't give them the information right there for 30 minutes, right? You schedule time for a Zoom or in face-to-face or however you're doing it in our current environment. The goal is to set more than one appointment, right? So you don't want to be cut on the phone. Plus, most of the time you talk yourself out of an appointment, wow them in the first 10 seconds. And then again, benefit evidence. Use the testimonials, benefit evidence. Let's touch on needs analysis real quick. I know we're getting tight on time, but I want to go through a lot of different things so you can really see that mastering recruiting is really, an art. There's a lot involved there. So key things to determine at the needs analysis are what's their goal, what's the gap, and what's their emotional why, right? We have to also get them to commit to a level of motivation to accomplish that goal and that big why. On a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to take your income from 100 to 200,000 that you shared with me this year? And why is that important? When you're making an extra $100,000 a year, $2,000 a week in additional cash flow, what are you spending that money on? Right? So we have to have a conversation around those things to determine their emotional why, to establish the gap, to determine their level of motivation. We have to use questions that create self-discovery. This isn't about presenting. This is about opening them up because they fear change, don't want to move, and are happy where they're at. Opening them up to recognize that there's a gap, that there's an opportunity for them, right, to reach another level of success, right, to reach their potential in their business. The needs analysis is a list of 28 questions, right, that you want to take them through to really not only create this rapport, but get them on the edge of their seat so they're ready to hear, right, how to bridge that gap, because we got them to see they're not tracking for what they want to. What are the key benefits? Coaching and consulting, your environment, our education platform, right, our client follow-up system, our database management program, 33 Touch, obviously technology, our models and systems, and our key initiatives. So how are you presenting those without overselling those? Here's the 10-step presentation format, okay, where you want to present each benefit separately. You want to provide some evidence. You want to ask them if they see value, ask them how they would use it in their business, and then ask them how many more additional transactions they could add to their business with that benefit. That's how you get them to sell themselves on the value of the benefits, and the benefits being the solutions to help them bridge the gap from where they're at to where they want to go. Okay, so I know we're at the bottom of the hour. Guys, I don't know if you realize, but in a month, on March 4th, right, we are launching the Rockstar Recruiting Program. And we've got all the new initiatives. We have new scripts. We've dealt with the pandemic, the whole thing. We've got everything that you need to start mastering recruiting. So whatever you ranked yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, if you need help in some of those areas, that's what this program's about. There's 12 one-hour calls on each of those topics that we touched on the level of mastery. There's also every single week, right? We have live webcam prospecting sessions that you can participate in, where I'll work with you on the phones and other team leaders are there. We actually set appointments. We've got videos, I've got scripts, I've got materials, I got templates in command for recruiting dripping and smart plans. All of that comes with this program. It starts again on March 4th. If you're interested in it, go to the MAPS coaching site under group coaching and register. Okay? It's $199 a month for 6 months to work through mastering recruiting. And then, because a lot of you had asked this question, I just wanted to go through some quick topics of what we go through. Here's the things that we're going to go through over that 12 call series, right? All of these topics. We're going to talk about the 5 conversations and consultations in the leadership playbook, right? We talk about everything from, the mastering what to say, to having a specific plan, to your schedule management, to your mindset, right? We talk even about coaching and consulting agents and accountability, because that's part of it, right? GPS 411, the agent transition process, and so much more. Also, I wanted to touch on this too. A lot of you ask about this. Getting additional recruiting support through virtual assistants, cyber recruiter, right? There's over 200 cyber recruiters working for team leaders in our company. There's that website, mycyberrecruiter.com, if you want more information. Here's how to get a hold of me if you would like to, have any questions or reserve your spot. You need to get a hold of me for any reason. I can send you the link or send you, an outline of the program, whatever you need for Rockstar Recruiting as well. Okay. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'm going to open it up for some quick questions, and then we're going to let you guys go. So let me see if there's any quick questions here. Look in the chat. Okay, I think we answered some of those. There's some of the links in there for Rockstar Recruiting. Any questions? Any thoughts? Hopefully you got some good tips today. And if you need to get a hold of me, that's how you do that. And I'll get you whatever you need. Okay. Thank you for your time, guys. We will see you all at Family Reunion. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.